What's the crack? Big thank you to the sponsor of this week's podcast, Now, where you can watch The Last of Us streaming every single week. And there's only 2 more episodes left. And I know what happens because I played the video game and it's really good. I will say this, the ending of The Last of Us video game, I replayed it recently, is the greatest ending in the history of video games. Come at me, bro. So could it stick the landing? Could The Last of Us TV show have the greatest ending of a season ever in history? Could happen. And look, once The Last of Us is finished, don't you worry. There's loads on there. If you want to watch other things created by Craig Mazin, who's the co-creator of The Last of Us, he did the entire thing at Chernobyl. You can watch all of Chernobyl. It's also on now. Also, coming up the end of March, the final and 4th season of Succession, mate. So it's all going to be kicking off again. So look, is Now the home of the greatest TV you can watch? Yes. So you should check it out. Available with the Now Entertainment membership. Now listen, this podcast is with the very funny Joe McGucken, one of the best actors, I think, acting in comedy these days. Definitely the best close face actor. I love his face, and I love seeing it up close. And I like Joe. I get on very well with Joe. And I've done his podcast. Here he is doing mine. And I like picking his brain. We have somehow met at doing the same thing from completely different paths. And I don't think he compliments himself enough. So I do too much. And everyone's very uncomfortable. But I love Joe. And this is a nice candid chat about making comedy, mental health, and finding your voice. We actually don't talk at all about finding your voice, but I felt like I needed a third, and I couldn't think of an. So look, this is me and Joe McGucken having a laugh, having a chat. Enjoy. No, I feel like we are all fucked. Like, I think, because people would only... So the sponsors that sponsor like our podcasts aren't going to sponsor
straight
in. No, we are. We would be fucked. Like, I mean, is our industry not like the first to? Who wants to, throw us a few bucks? We're not essential. We're definitely not essential.
But I think we're the hardest to replace. I think just naturally funny people.
You've already won me over.
Yeah, do you like that?
See how quick? Oh yeah.
I can't be replaced. You're right, Joe. You're right.
If you made any point, I'm like, yeah, you've got a great point there.
You were literally saying the opposite thing. You're like, I said two words, and you're like, okay,
great.
Yeah, I genuinely don't think though that comedians. I think once robots take over the world, I think people will. The only thing that we'll have to provide is entertainment. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Unless you have a robot up there, and I don't think it'll ever get to a stage where we'll be able to mimic real humour. I don't think a robot, like humour, especially Irish humour, is self-deprecating. Yeah. How can a robot be self-deprecating? It's perfect in every way.
Right, Unless he's like, I'm confusing my ones for my zeros or some shit. And you'd be like, who programmed it to be Rodney Dangerfield all of a sudden?
How about those tree pin plugs?
The thing about it is, I was speaking to an AI ambassador in this very room before, and we were talking about AI and AI art. And I was going to say she made this point, but I made this point at her. And she agreed, meaning that it's true. Is that, I don't know, like, you see like the AI art thing, and everyone was doing their profile pics with all that AI art, for a while. And then like, at first you're like, oh, that's kind of impressive. And then like an hour later, you're like, I've fucking seen it, and this has no soul, and it's not really hitting. Yeah. I feel like if there is any actual proof for a soul, right, it's the fact this AI art exists. Because you read a bit of copy written by like an AI, and you're kind of like, there's just something missing here. It's fitting together. Yeah. But it's almost like if you ever have to listen to like, you've had shitty jobs, right? Have you ever had like a middle manager tell you, that everyone has to come in on a day, even though they don't want to tell you that news, and you're like, this isn't even coming from you. Like, there's something askew here, where you're telling me this. And like when someone's telling you something and it isn't coming from their soul, and so you kind of are checked out, or you kind of don't believe it. That's what I feel like AI art is. Yeah. It's kind of not in sync with a true meaning as to why someone is. The why is missing. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Windows XP. I know you're not that artistic. Like, I know you don't have that capability of making me feel that emotion. This emotion, I'm crying now, but these aren't real tears, man. These aren't real tears. Yeah, yeah. Would you trust a robot with your hair? I would
coming in here with your brand new fade.
I wouldn't be afraid of it giving me a bad haircut. I'd be afraid of it cutting me scalp or something. I wouldn't trust a robot. Do you ever see that ads? I think it's for a car. I love car ads because they don't make any sense.
No sense.
Like, they're kind of like, Jesus, I'm digressing a lot straight off.
Fine, that's what the podcast's all about.
Car ads are kind of like perfume ads. Like, how do you advertise a scent? You can't. Yeah. So you just have to make someone look
pure
sexy.
Mood.
So it's the same shit with cars. It's like this thing drives, but what's going to make you want it? So they done this. I had like a robot. It was like it wasn't an AI car, but it was kind of like a smart car. And there was a fella driving it remotely, but also he was giving someone a shave remotely. And I was trying to make some sort of a simulation that like it's this detailed that you can cut someone's beard from that far. But I'm just like, what if the robot just ran out of battery and just went, like, shit, that was not me. That was the battery. I don't know what we were thinking. I don't know why we had to prove a point like this by giving someone a shave in the middle of the Andes Mountains. I don't know why. It's just a fucking car.
Yeah, or like a mountain goat jumps in the way and they're like, oh, fuck you. Cut your man's head off, straight away. Yeah. I know it might get there, but you're saying that we're safe.
As entertainers, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Having said that, though, I feel like actors could be obsolete as well, like because I feel like everything is kind of digitized now. Anyway, like we had that Superman film where they digitized your man's moustache.
Yes, Tash, and somehow brought his lip up to be like, and they forgot how a top lip looks like. Yeah. Everyone's safe.
That's what AI art looks like now, though. It's just there's something off about it.
There's something off every single one of the AI art pictures. The hands have too many fingers.
Yeah.
They can't seem to figure out how can it be so smart as to be able to recreate what a selfie looked like at the Last Supper, but have all the apostles have 9 fingers.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's something a bit askew there.
It's kind of like making art in a dream.
Yeah,
isn't it? It's like, oh, how did I make this amazing picture? And then you kind of look a little bit closer and you're like, oh, it's fucking weird. I'm dreaming. This is crazy. This is not real.
Have you always been a creative, Joe McGucken? What's the first? Can you remember what the first thing was that you made that you liked?
I used to come home from school and I used to hate doing homework.
Oh yeah.
But I used to take the tin foil from me sandwich that I'd bring into school and I'd start making little dinosaurs and shit out of that.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, just out of boredom. And it's only when you're saying that like that's coming back, like that's not, I don't have a story or anything behind that, but I used to always kind of like making shit. I had a talk boy. Do you remember that was in Home Alone 2?
Yeah. And
I used to read stories and then just listen back to the stories.
I was big on that. I used to love that. At first what I did with my talk boy was, I've talked about this in the pod before, but I used to try and make people say that they were gay because I thought it was really funny. So I'd be like, Omar, my cousin Omar, I'd be like, Omar, are you gay? And then I would go up to him and I'd say, Omar, do you like ice cream? And then I'd record. And he'd be like, yeah. And I'd be like, I have evidence that he's gay.
Gotcha.
That's when gay things were funny. Now,
yeah.
of course, gay things aren't funny at all.
No, very serious.
Very serious.
Very serious.
Yeah. But yeah, I used to do that. I used to record my own radio shows as well. Did you do that?
I used to just kind of come up with news bulletins.
Yeah.
And it would just be shit that happened in the house. I'd be like, it's the 6-1 news and my ma's gone in to make a cup of tea now and stuff. And she'd be like, Joe, will you shut the fuck up? Will you, for fuck's sake? And so, yeah, that's the sort of stuff that I do.
Yeah.
And filming myself, I used to... Me mate, we used to do Jackass. You've done Jackass and shit before,
Jackass,
yeah. Like jumping into trees and into bushes.
Yeah,
and all that stuff.
Actually, my cousin Omar's shed, we used to jump off. I mean, onto a load of mattresses, but we still thought it was pretty Jackass.
It is pretty Jackass.
Yeah.
Like if your child was like, I'm going out to jump off a building onto like 2 pissy mattresses, you'd be like,
I'd be
no,
like,
you're
that's
not.
Fucking awesome.
Yeah,
I'd be like, I've raised you well. Yeah.
Oh, thank God the internet wasn't around back then, because yeah, that's crazy.
Well, thank God. Yeah, but the biggest thing that I think I've avoided. How old are you?
33.
33. So we're around the same age. I'm 35. So like we kind of, I firmly believe, and my brother actually had made this point, that we're probably like the last generation to just have a childhood without the internet, being so intrinsically linked with everything. But I think if it was, because I remember when MySpace first dropped, and I had a little emo fringe. If that had been TikTok, I would have been making thirsty TikToks. I would have been like miming along to songs with my top off, with like drawn on tattoos or shit like that, with my little V, trying to be like a little thirst trap video. Like I definitely would have. And I know I look at them now and I cringe, but like it's also because I'm like, I know what that is. It's wanting to be seen.
Like if you see the people thirst trapping, they're like 25 and stuff.
They're very old, yeah.
Like shit was around. Like I wasn't doing thirst trap videos on YouTube. Like I was embarrassing myself. Like now it's all sexy and cool.
Yeah. But what do you think about men being sexy these days? I'm so threatened by it because I think I missed the boat on it.
Yeah.
I know we're not too old to be sexy.
That's what pisses me off. I'm like, I could go to the gym for like 6 months and maybe I'd be thirsty. Maybe I could.
Look, I could do that. Go to the gym for 6 months and do Chris Hemsworth's diet plan. I could do it.
Yeah.
But do I want to be sexy is the real question.
That's it. You know what I mean? I'm holding it down for the real men that you know that don't have to. I don't have to prove a point. Like,
Yeah.
You know? I have 2 kids. I have a wife.
Yeah.
I don't need to impress strangers on the internet.
Or my wife.
Sexually. Like, every other way I do.
Yeah. I'd love it though. I don't get many thirsty comments online. I mean, I know I don't want it. I don't want to have any kind of distraction like that.
I've seen you dance outside the doll. That's
Thank you. Yeah.
that's very thirsty.
Yeah. I mentioned on this pod a few weeks ago when I remember I was at the Bureau de Change.
Yeah,
and I was dancing around, and obviously I got a big swollen nut, and you were like, "Here, are you wearing like a fake dick in your pants?"
I had no idea.
I know. Yeah, and you were like,
no
just a lot going on down there."
Like sometimes.
And then I saw on your face, and you're like, "Oh no, what have I said here?" And I'm like, and I was just very honest. No, I got a big swollen nut.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to get it looked at.
That made it even more worse for me. You should have comforted me and say, "I know it's nothing. It's I don't mind."
Nah, it's just me hog, man. It's just me fucking hog. Yeah. Thank you for looking though. I give you a big old kiss.
I do that so much. Like I think I was oh my god, it just happens so much. I don't even want to repeat stories because I feel like that's so offensive. I'm like, I always put my foot in that. I always say something stupid.
You're very curious though. I did see this thing on Reddit. It said like, what's the number one character trait of a dickhead, right? And I'm not going to say it's you, right? I'm saying you're the opposite. What's the number one character trait? And the most upvoted comment was, and I've talked about this so much on the pod, is lack of curiosity. You know, people just are not curious.
Yeah.
And they don't want to have their mind changed about anything.
Yeah.
They kind of know what they like. They know the kind of people they think that they like. They know the kind of food that they like. They know the culture that they like. And they don't want to be changed at all. They have no curiosity. And even in conversation, they don't ask questions.
100%. So that's the worst thing about a conversation is not being able to ask a question. Like if I ask you a question, you talk about whatever I asked you about, and then you kind of bounce it back. That's how a fucking conversation works. But when you have 2 people and the other person's not asking a question or kind of giving back, or giving you an opportunity, giving you a little bit of rope, like, here, come on, you know, let's play ball here.
Yeah.
Then you're like, fuck this shit. Like I'm leaving this room.
No, but I think that comes out definitely in your podcast, and you're very curious, you know, and as well in your videos, like you've kind of you know you have your signature comedy style, you know, but like there's no specific one kind of like genre that you want to stay in. You seem to want to just try a load of things in your videos, you know.
Yeah.
You've always done that since, you know, Wind Up Merchants, and then obviously with, you know, Free Gaff, like the sketches. It's your personality and everything, but you don't really want to. I don't really know the point of making. I
think it's interesting that you're saying that because I've never really gone out by myself. Like, so I was with the Wind Up Merchants, and now I'm kind of with Darren, and then with Free Gaff, like I'm collaborating with everybody. So I don't really like the spotlight being solely on me, and I don't think I have a unique style. Like I just love I love comedy. I love your style of comedy, and I'm like, oh, I think you should do this. Like I remember messaging you fucking 9 years ago or something when I was doing like a pilot for the Wind Up Merchants. It was when you were doing stuff for Chapside. Remember Chapside at the last? I was like, if you could do Plum and like do that selfie video, like this is just what I was thinking. If you could do that selfie video and then the camera goes down and then you actually have that head and it's not actually I'm like, shit, there's so much you could do with that. And with Killian as well, like I like mixing humours and stuff, and I think that comes from the curiosity of playing with other people's toys, I suppose.
No, what I like about you, Joe, one of the many things I like about you, I think we're very similar in that. Like, I think we're good ideas men. You know, we come up with a lot of ideas. You know, and also like just also ask people to do things. You know, there's a lot of people in comedy like that do, like, you know, they have their thing, and you know they kind of. I have a bit of a as well, where they kind of want to be found or whatever like that. But you're very like, here will we do this thing, you know? Even getting onto you're like outbound when it comes to like wanting to do like an ad. You're like, here, I have a fucking ad for you. Do you want to do it? Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I remember actually you said send me a message. You were like, oh, you should do a sketch of kind of a recovery group, you know, for people who are obsessed with cartoon cats. I'm like, it's a great idea, you know. I didn't end up doing it, and then I wrote back, I'm like, oh man, yeah, we should definitely do that. And that was literally 1 year to the day. Do you remember that?
A year and a
I
day
hadn't
late.
responded. It was a year and a day late, and you were like, yeah, man, yeah, like that was a year ago, but yeah, we should do it. I was like, oh yeah, man, we should. I'm fucking awful for that, as you know, as you've seen as well from even booking this. I'm an awful flake, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I almost you text me 3 times today, being like, "Are we still on? Now, are we still on for the podcast today?" Because I obviously delayed you twice.
Yeah. So we were supposed to do it Last week.
Last week, yeah.
And then yesterday.
You
just keep fucking cancelling.
And I just kept flaking.
Have you ashamed? Are you ashamed of yourself?
Not really.
Are you embarrassed? Do you not?
No, I don't.
Shit. I'm envious of that. I would be eating myself. Like,
if I was you, I'd be fucking mortified. Is that what you're saying?
If I was in your position, not if I was you. Well, actually, no. I
should be.
I'm such a people pleaser that it would kill me to put someone out or something, like, you know. I'm not saying that you should feel that way. I know I did.
You're a busy guy, and I
think I should be the way you are. I envy the way you are.
Come on, that's what people pleasing is, that the level of people pleasing that you have, that you're actually telling me that I did good.
yeah. I'm trying to make you feel
I delayed you. No. Do you know what it is? I have and I'm getting better at it, but I'm definitely of the kind of millennial generation that does believe the kind of main character fucking Truman Show shit about myself a little bit, and I have to kind of check that in sometimes, you know.
I have the Truman Show effect, but I feel like I'm an extra on the Truman Show. I'm one of the shopkeepers that, like, hey Truman. I'm not Truman.
Yeah, but you're definitely
I'm part of it.
You're
involved.
A part of it, yeah. No, I will be honest. It was a bit of a mad week. We were moving home, and then my little daughter had a fever. I was in hospital for like 3 days. So
when was this last week?
It was during the week, and it just fucked up the rest. So it was up until like Tuesday. She came out. So she was like over the weekend, and then up to kind of Tuesday. So I had every intention of having all this, but then all the other kind of definite dated things that I had to have in the diary just kind of got pushed out.
Yeah.
You know.
And I was way down on the priority list.
I mean, you were number one on like the super fun list, but in terms of priority, you know.
Yeah, no, there's nothing worse than, how old's
11 weeks.
11 weeks.
Yeah.
Only brand new, fresh out.
Brand new, box fresh. Yeah, like, you
box know. Box fresh.
No, she's like, I kept saying this to my wife, like, she's like, you know when like you get a new phone and you're like, and if someone's like, throw us that phone, you're like, no, it's my new phone. It doesn't have a scratch on it. And then after a while, you're like, here's your fucking. So she's almost at that level where you're like, here's a fucking phone.
Yeah.
She
still has the film on it.
Yeah. Yeah. So she is box fresh. But it's one of those things, like when a kid gets a fever at that age, you know, they're like, well, it's only like a few millimeters away from the brain, you know, and shit can like, I know. They're just so small. So it did push things down. But I also didn't want to be like, here, sorry, I was in fucking hospital, and you know, you get those kind of like waves of excuses. I'm trying not to do too much of those these days.
Yeah,
you know, I did a lot of that in school. I'd hit you with like a wave of shit to try and make you feel bad, so you wouldn't be angry at me. Do you know what I mean?
Do you kind of let? I let a load of shit kind of build up before I'm like, shit, I should have tackled that and kind of apologised. And now I feel like just this week I'm kind of trying to claw my way back to the surface, like with apologies and sorry, I'm gonna get to that. I'll do this, and I just kind of let too much shit build up, and I'm like, sorry everybody, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Let me just kind of start fresh.
Yeah, I'm like Mr. Apology, like, you know. Yeah. But my apologies are kind of like pound shop apologies. You know what I mean? Like a pound shop hammer being like, it's, you know, it does the job, but it's not going to last very long. Do you know what I mean? It's not really worked much.
It will break.
It will break. And I probably will get another one, and I will have to apologise again, you know? But yeah, did you notice that when I was apologising, I said thank you for your understanding? Did you notice that?
I did notice that.
That's kind of a thing I'm doing, where I'm kind of like, thank you for not being annoyed at me, rather than I'm sorry. You know, I know I also did hit you with a legion of I'm sorry's as well, but that's
an interesting thing to do. Is kind of shift a compliment back onto the person to make them.
Thank you very much for your understanding. Look, I really appreciate me having this professional relationship together.
Yeah, it kind of felt like a job interview. Like I didn't get the job, but you're like, thank you for understanding. I'm like, sorry, no, I don't fit the bill. It's grand. I don't have enough experience. It's my fault. What was I thinking applying for? It's silly.
No, but sorry for flaking. How are you for flaking? I mean, you're saying here you're kind of clawing your way back in terms of a load of apologies at the moment. You know, you're not much of a flake.
I'm not a flake. No. To my own detriment. Like I take on too much, and the things that are most important to me, like I'd put on the bottom of my priority list, because I know I can kind of I suppose I'm talking about my wife.
Yeah.
I can go back and I can apologise to her the most. Like I can let her down the most because I know she'll forgive me the easiest.
Yeah.
It'd be a hard battle, but like I know it's there. I know the apology's always there.
Yeah, my wife's made it kind of clear that that's not like I can't work. You know, not that I can't work, but like I have not yet in the working dynamic spent evenings editing podcasts, or I mean I do have to sometimes, but you know, editing a video in the evening, I keep my evenings and my weekends free.
Okay.
And that also can annoy people because I'm like, I have to say no to things, you know, including like acting work on the weekend. But that's not her influence. That's just, you know, I've kind of kept this up now, so it would be quite surprising if all of a sudden then.
Do you not have a fear then that if you say no to something that it'll never come back? I'm like, I can't say no to anything in case they're like, well, fuck him, and we're never gonna work with him ever again. He's never going to walk in this country again.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I kind of realized, actually, I'd realized this when I was in sales. I'm never going to work in this country again. I realized that people don't, if people are looking for you for something like an ad or like a job, like that's kind of a business decision, and so they can't make an emotional response to a business decision. They get in trouble if they have an emotional response. So if they feel like you've spurned them, you know, or that you've pissed them off. Or if you say no, like they're not going to make an emotional decision to be like, well, Joe's never fucking getting a job. They'll just always go for what the best business decision is, and you're good business for them. So it would make sense for them to tolerate that. Not that they even have to tolerate it. You know what I mean? I just realized that people don't really make those kind of emotional decisions to be like, oh, fuck him. Similarly, if you want something and you're asking loads and loads for something like a job.
Yeah. He's listening. PlayStation.
Yeah, PlayStation. Yeah, how are we with that, by the way? Is that happening?
We're making moves.
Yeah, we're making moves.
We're making moves.
Yeah, no, I do that as well. Like I get on to people being like, I have this idea for a job, you know, for like an ad or something like that. And I do that, and I might pester because I've you know, and I realize that people aren't going to be like, oh, now you're annoying me actually. So no, like I don't think people have made that kind of decision since they were like 7.
Yeah.
But I understand the fear of it. We're kind of like not getting back to people. I kind of assume there's so many ways of reaching me that if I don't get back to you, like you'll probably someone will find me. Like you know,
I'm after getting a text on my phone like 5 minutes ago, and it's like it's killing me to not respond. I'm
really?
Like, listen, man, I just really need to fucking take this text message or this call.
Yeah.
I hate missing calls or not getting a call. Even it could be 9 o'clock at night and I'll be wanting to respond to an email or something like that. That's
good though. Like you are one of the hardest working guys in the biz. I do firmly believe that. Like I genuinely think you're constantly having a lot of kind of in development things. Some things might happen to them, some might not. You've also got different kind of, you know, you've got commercial, you've also got like, you know, pure art. You do like short films, you do feature films, you know. I also think you're an incredible actor. I'm going to compliment you loads here.
Bring it on, I love it.
I do actually think you're one of the best actors. You're especially doing Darren and Joe, or doing Free Gaff with you. You're one of the best fucking close-up actors for like a close-up scene. You can show so much emotion in your face. I don't know how you do it. It's quite commendable. I get so self-conscious because I have like a deviated septum, and I didn't realise it until like I seen me face on a fucking 50-foot screen, and I'm like, shit, me bleeding nose is sniffing around corners like a bleeding Scooby-Doo dog. So like, huh? Jesus. Or someone's got a pie on the corner on the windowsill, and here comes Joe's nose. No, thanks. That's a nice thing to say. Yeah, you're very hardworking. So I think you could. Well, I mean, don't let you're busier than I am, so don't let me give you advice about how to fucking take calls. It's obviously working for you, the system that you have. Yeah. The missus is talking about going to Bali for 3 months next year with the kids and me, and I'm just like, I don't know what I'm going to be doing next summer. We're talking about 2024, and I'm like, I can't commit to something like 1 year away. You should definitely do that though. I would love to. It's an investment in you because. So 2 weeks in, you're going to probably be like, this is probably enough. I've had enough of this. Yeah. But 3 months is a long time. You should still do it. I was like, come on, we go on a long weekend to Tremor or something. Like, you have to go to Bali for 3 months? Yeah, but you could still do your podcast remotely there. Yeah. So you could still have that going. Yeah. And then also, it will be worth you having the time just to come up with do you ever have when you need a break sometimes? I've found when I'm on holiday sometimes, like after the first week, then I'm actually relaxed, and then I start having original ideas. Remember having an original idea? You're just sitting there, you're like, that's actually a good idea. Yeah, I've never seen that before. I haven't had that in a while. Well, I had it a bit over Christmas. You're like, you start thinking of actual ideas and then writing them down. Yeah. So I imagine 3 months. Consider that like your writing period for coming up with bits. When are you most creative? I'm most creative. Is that a real poxy question, is it? No, it's not. When are you most creative? When are you most kind of thinking of original ideas or whatever? I'm probably when I'm happy. Yeah. When I'm like, if it's actually, I've realized after I get like good feedback from someone about something, then I'm in the zone where I feel like it kind of gives my mind permission to be like, oh no, these are good ideas, and then they just flow out of me. So like it's weird. Like if I actually get up early and I've had like done a job in the morning that had to be done, that will give me like a boost of confidence. That will be like I'm really in the mood for like writing something down or something. But I mean, I don't really ever really look at a blank page. I'm always just writing down bits and stuff like that, and then I might come back to them, you know.
But you've done like hour-long shows, like stand-up shows, or
yeah,
like that's a lot of work.
You've done stand-up though, you know what that's like.
I've never done an hour-long like headline show by myself. I've done like Darren and Joe to stall a podcast, which was a long show, but it wasn't just me up on a stage by myself. Yeah. Like,
yeah, but you have you have it like, so it's the same way. I mean, if you were to be doing like your live podcast on your own, like for an hour, you'd realize that it's just about, like, I'm probably doing it the wrong way. Like I'm looking at it a lot of the time. How do I fill an hour? And you know, if I was worth my weight as a stand-up, I should probably be doing an hour like every 2 years or 3 years. Haven't realized what like Steve Martin had 10 hours of stand-up material that he would cut down to 1. That's why it's all good, you know?
Yeah.
So rather than actually, how do I flesh this out? It should be more like, I'm going to have to cut some really good jokes, you know?
Yeah.
So
is that like, how do I drag this?
Yeah.
There's one laugh that
man.
I'm yeah.
But like I got that, like I got sacked from my job when I moved back to Dublin. I was working remotely for this sales company. I was doing sales for this startup in London. And then eventually I just, you know, they sacked me and they gave me like a redundancy, you know. So then when that happened, I was like, all right, shit, I need to just figure out how I'm going to make money doing stand-up, you know, full time. And they gave me like a payout, so I had like 6 months. And then the Sugar Club just coincidentally got in touch, and they were like, do you want to do a gig? And I'm like, yeah. And I had nothing planned.
Back up for a little bit, like, why did the Sugar Club... You were in London.
Yeah.
Were you doing videos and stuff in London?
I'd moved back to Dublin.
Oh, okay.
And they were like, do you want to do a live thing? You know.
Did you have an audience and stuff then?
I mean, I had enough of an audience that could get to fill the Sugar Club, you know, from the Plune stuff, you know. And that's all I had. That's all it was, just the Plune and Maz Mate stuff. And then it was just, I was like, all right, shit, I need to figure out how to get an hour. So then I was just, all right, well, I have like, you know, 4 characters. Can I do 15 minutes on each character, you know? Yeah. Was that all good? No. It was really bad, actually. But people had a good time, you know?
Yeah.
Because you probably realized at the gig, you know, that people are just so willing, especially after COVID, they're like, this has to be a fucking good night. You know, they're in the audience being like, this fucking better be a good night. So, you know, you fucking up a line is not going to ruin my night. I'm still going to laugh.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. The willingness is just so much more powerful than how inept you are. You know?
Did you ever have a bad gig?
Yeah. Oh, do you know what happened, actually? I had a really bad gig. I kind of oversold these shows, right, in the Sugar Club, where there was 1 year where after my honeymoon, I was like, I'm going to try and do this is my idea. I was like, I'm going to do a new hour every month, right?
Every month?
Yeah, and I was like, and I booked 4 shows, because they were going so well. So I booked like 4 shows months apart, right? And they were called like Live Feed, Volume 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And they were like 60% the same show with 40% changed each time, because I was trying to figure out how to make a good hour in a shorter span of time to bring it to Edinburgh. And then towards like the 3rd and 4th, it was like, all right, people realize, oh, it's kind of like the same show. So like, you know, they're not going to be recurring. So like the 3rd show sold okay, and then the 4th show didn't sell particularly well, because it was like, you know, essentially 1,200 tickets to be sold within 4 months. So it wasn't that much. So then they were like doing, you know, raffles, like kind of like an opportunity to win tickets to fill up the 4th gig. So anyway, then I was like, all right, I'm just going to try and do crowd work for 20 minutes. I was like, I've never done it before. But by that time, I'm also doing it to like a petered out audience of like, you know, a quarter capacity crowd. So I started doing crowd work, and I started like...
A quarter capacity?
Yeah.
In the Sugar Club?
In the Sugar Club, you know. Okay. So it was looking ropey then. And it was only just because like the people who really wanted to see it, they'd seen it. So like they weren't going to come back, you know. So there's not an infinite amount of people who are going to see you bullshit on stage, you know. So then I started doing crowd work, and went up to this guy, and I'm like, what's the crack? You know, what's your story? You know, which is shy crowd work.
What's your story?
What's your story?
Come up here and
you know? Well, I've realized like you can't make crowd work seem like it's the most important thing in the world for someone to say something. Like you can't have all the attention.
Yeah.
You know, it has to make it seem like someone wants to talk. So how do you actually make it a situation? But I didn't realize that. I was like, what's your story? You on a date? And he's like, yeah, on a date here. You know, and I'm like, it going well so far? You think you're gonna, you know, get off with each other tonight? And he's like, I don't know, whatever. And then I was like, what's your favourite thing I've ever done? I said, and he goes, look, mate, I actually, to be honest, I don't fucking know who you are. I want a ticket. And I was like, all right.
Oh, man.
And I go back on, and I'm like, all right, let's just do what we did for Volume 1. You know, and just did the gig again. And it was okay, but it was just like, you know, that I think at that point I was like, I'm not kind of respecting the responsibility that I have to offer people a good night.
Okay.
I was like, I was using it more as like, I need to figure out how to get better.
As your tool. Like
as my
rather,
tool.
yeah.
And there has to be something in the middle there that's kind of like, yeah, I could be getting better. That's the thing about Dublin. Like, it's like, you have Dublin comedy club nights where you want to get better, but there's also like, it's different in like the States where like you can have, there's so many open mics in the big cities and there's so many places you can try stuff, and then there's, you know, club nights where you're getting paid well and you don't want to really be trying stuff there because, you know, you respect the audience enough to know that they spent 20 quid a ticket.
Yeah.
And then you have your own gigs where you have figured all that out and you're doing your 1 hour, you know. But in Dublin it's just like, it's the same people are going to be coming to see it all the time, so it's weird to be like, all right, I'm just going to play jazz out here, see if it fucking works.
But do you do that? Do you go to the International and just try out material on a dry audience that doesn't know yet at all?
Yeah, you would, and it's tough because, you know, a lot of times it's just like Germans in the audience. You know.
So the last time I done a stand-up gig, well, it's not the last time. I've since gone back to it, but I've kind of not done it since then as well. But the last time I done stand-up was for a competition. It was in the Woolshed, and I had a bit of a following because of the wind-up merchants and stuff like that. And I hadn't invited anyone to any of my shows. But this one was a competition, and if you won, it was kind of a clap-o-meter thing. So I said, you know what? And if you won, you got 500 quid. So I says, right, you know what? I'm going to bring as many people as I can. And not a lot of people did show up from my side.
Yeah.
But the people that did come, which was probably about 8 or 9 people, they all sat right in the front, which made things a little bit more uncomfortable for me.
Yeah.
And then the MC on the night knew that I had a bit of a following and left me to last, like save the best to last kind of thing. I ended up getting very drunk, like piss drunk.
Yeah.
And the rest of the audience, because it was in the Woolshed, the rest of the audience were just Brazilians. And 90% of my material is about Mosney. And they will not have a clue what the fuck I'm talking about when I'm talking about Mosney. They'd be like, what the fuck is this? So I'm like, all right, I'm just going to... I always wanted to do a kind of Andy Kaufman, get up on stage and just be really awkward and say, but I hadn't thought any further than that.
Yeah.
But in the drunken state, blackout drunk, I don't remember it. In the drunken state, I got up on stage and just done an awkward 10 to 20 seconds of all right, how are you doing, and then ran off stage, and then that was it. And then like I woke up the next morning, Moira was mad at me, and I was like, okay, I'm just not doing it anymore. I'm just not going to do it anymore.
Yeah, I know you should forgive yourself for that. Like, you know, forgive you. Have you forgiven yourself yet, Joe?
No,
because
I don't deserve it. I don't deserve an apology.
No, you just really wanted it, and it's just one of those things. Like, I'm so prone to that. Like, especially something you're excited about or really thinking about. Just look, all of a sudden, just this hand is fucking automatic, and you're just fucking horsing the pints into you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, like wanking lads. Sorry.
Yeah,
you looked at me. You looked at me like you didn't understand what I was saying.
Big fat ones as
well.
well.
Big fat ones. Yeah. Yeah, but like, it's hard to do an awkward thing well. You know, it's.
I think it's possible, like if you sit down and think about it. But
yeah,
doing it on a
you're there blackout drunk.
I mean, if I
maybe going to talk about Mosney to a bunch of Brazilians.
I think I might have started my set, and I mean, it's like, these have no idea what I'm fucking talking about, and then I just kind of gave up and crumbled.
Yeah.
And then ran off stage, I guess.
But you know all the bits that you decide to talk about on your podcast, like that's stand-up bits, you know?
Yeah, no.
I'm trimmed down to like a tweet, and that's a joke. Yeah. You know? I'm
confident in the set that I have, like, but I just don't have the desire to... like, honestly, so Oliver, my first son, when he was born, it was a disaster. And I remember being in the hospital, and before she gave birth, there was posters everywhere, because it was in July. There was posters everywhere for the Vodafone Comedy Festival, which is now the Paddy Power Comedy Festival. And I knew a load of people that was headlining that, and I was like, fucking, do you know what, this time next year, and I'm doing that. And I was really jealous. I was like, I want that. I want to be fucking at the Vodafone Comedy Festival. Like, how am I not at that? And then everything went wrong with Ollie, and then literally I was walking past the same posters, and I'm like, why did I give a fuck about that? Yeah. Like, why do I care about like 50 people in a room and making them laugh? And it actually kind of made me think about stand-up comedy, and then I went to make a documentary, but then COVID happened and stuff, because my relationship with stand-up comedy is weird. Like, I fucking love it. I love the art. I love performing comedy. I think it's great. Nothing better than a live audience. Even for a film, like watching a film in front of a live audience, I think is better than sitting at home and watching.
Yeah, 100%.
But I love what you. Okay, I'll finish my point first. I started the documentary because I love to understand why people do stand-up comedy and what satisfaction they get out of saying the same thing twice, 3 times, 4 times. Yeah. Like the stand-up comics out there that have been saying the same joke for 15 years.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Are you happy?
Well, as you know,
not you.
No, I know.
Like what you were saying about doing the every month you do a different show.
Yeah, well, I don't think that was a stupid idea, but you know.
But I love it.
Yeah.
So what if it's shit as well? Like, you know, embrace that and fucking. I think that's class.
Well, I think like we're of a similar age enough where like beforehand, stand-up. So we obviously got to experience, you know, the stand-up boom of the 90s and see a lot of American stand-ups get really big, and we all, you know, and there was a lot of really good Irish stand-ups and Irish comedy, you know, when I started, you know, going on to Channel 4 and seeing all that kind of stuff. Like we hold stand-up to a high level, and we should, because it's a serious art form and it's really hard to do and to get really good at, and it is reps and reps and reps and reps. But it used to be the only game in town, and now there is, I mean, the fact that I've had people message me and be like, you know, man, I really love watching your videos when I'm on the jacks. And I'm like, is there, I can't sit in the jacks with him and do stand up. But like, yeah, my comedy can transfer to the jacks. I've had someone else message me being like, man, I work in a fucking freezer, you know, and I'm stacking fucking meat all day and I listen to your podcast. And it's like, I can't be a stand up in a fucking freezer. But yeah, so there's so many different avenues where comedy can meet people. And you know, you've found 2 mediums between sketch and podcasting that you're very good at that not everyone can do. And if everyone could do it, they would do it. And there's a lot of stand-ups who have no interest in doing that, no interest in doing a podcast or talking unscripted for an hour. So, like, there is, like, yeah, you know, stand-up is still here, but there's also things that you do that are here that they can't do. You know what I mean?
It's easier.
It's easier
to
you.
Sit at home and, no, it is easier. I think it's easier to think about a sketch. And, I mean, you can think about a sketch and shoot it in. There's a video that I done, and it got 10,000 likes or something on TikTok, right. And it's very popular.
Brag.
And
braggadocious.
And it's a popular video, but like it took me half an hour to make it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's not harder than walking out a stand-up comedy set, finding the beats, finding the confidence and the delivery and walking it till it's a brilliant 10, 15, an hour, 60 minutes. Like, you know what I mean? That's hard work. That's graft.
No, it is graft. But there's also, like, you know, because you're doing the other bits, like I feel like to get good at stand-up, to get like unbelievably good at stand-up, it has to be your kind of only true passion, you know?
Yeah.
And I've got a bit of a hybrid kind of motive in mind when I do live gigs, is because I also want to meet the people that have, you know, that have liked the stuff in the past, you know, and I'm also just want to try to transfer some of the things people have heard from the podcast or sketches, ideas, and present that live. So it's kind of a bit of a hybrid model. But people who are doing just pure joke writing, stand up craft, you know, it is probably the hardest thing to do, you know.
People are probably going to be listening to this saying, "What the fuck are they shouting on it?"
I think people might be interested, you know.
Do you think so?
Yeah, why not? I mean, I love TV when there's like I started watching this show, like a Physical 100. Did you watch that on Netflix?
No.
It's all these South Koreans just doing this, like, the amazing bodies. Some of them are like, you know, gymnasts from like a national 100 people. Some are like arm wrestlers. Some are, you know, Olympic gold medalists. Some are choreographers, dancers and stuff like that. And they're basically competing to see who the fittest person is in Korea.
Okay.
But like they're proper. Anyway, I don't know anything about that. So I don't know anything about fitness in Korea. But this is a really well-made show of them in a kind of reality show doing this kind of thing. So like, I'm like, I don't know anything about that world. I want to know about that world. I started watching fucking Yellowstone, that Kevin Costner show.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm like, I don't know anything about what it is to be a billionaire ranch owner, you know?
Yeah.
Succession, I don't know what it is to be a billionaire, media oligarch, you know?
Yeah.
I like to know about things I don't know about. So I think people might want to know about
maybe
this that they don't know about.
Yeah,
you know?
I love sci-fi and shit because it's kind of escapism.
Yeah,
and you don't know about it.
Watched Interstellar there again yesterday.
Oh yeah, it's good, isn't it?
It's a fucking flick and a half.
It's a good movie.
It does get a little bit goofy towards the end when they go into
Silly.
the fifth dimension.
Silly.
Like it's kind of a bit silly.
Did you watch Barbarian?
Yes.
What did you think of that? Because I
Thought
can't
that-
make me mind up.
I thought it was a fucking flick.
Did you?
Yeah, I thought
Even
it was great.
the end of it,
Yeah.
like when she's jumping through the wall.
Yeah.
I think it's like they didn't know what they were doing at the start, and they were just making up a film as they were going along. And everything in it it's almost like a parody of every horror film ever made, if you actually think of it.
I think it is, yeah. But what I like about it is, without giving any spoilers away, is it's kind of like, I don't know how, like, you know, in other horror flicks where, you know, they try and make up a weird backstory for the killer, where like, oh, they got, you know, abused or something like that, or something really bad happened to them. There still is a kind of evil onus put on the killer.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like with this situation, it's kind of like, oh no, she's just a fucking real bad victim of circumstance. You know, the killer. No, I'm not going to spoil anything. And I feel like you've got empathy for it, but without kind of without taking away what's scary about it. I don't know. I thought they did that very well. You know, and it was very unexpected. And I just love a good horror flick that is all like, you from a safe environment can be like, Jesus Christ, I never thought I'd see that in my lifetime.
Can I just turn this? Sorry.
Of course you can.
No, I can't. Did you watch Megan?
M3 Gan?
Michigan.
No, I haven't. Jared said he watched it, and the only good bit was the dance scene, but I haven't. I haven't watched it.
I thought it was all great.
Is it?
I thought it was really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I thought it could have been better. I thought it was a little bit silly for the subject matter. I feel like the subject matter of AI taking over. It's basically a kid's Terminator.
Yeah, meets Chucky.
Yeah. Terminator meets Chucky. I thought it was really good.
I will check it out. I mean, I'm kind of backlogged with the stuff I actually want to watch. How are you with kind of like balancing what you want to watch versus what Moira wants to watch?
Not very good. Not very good.
I feel like me and Terry were kind of like in a kind of compromise now, where there's a few good shows that pop up, but it's kind of few, you know, we're watching The Last of Us and loving that.
Yeah.
You know, if there's any kind of HBO show that pops up, we're like, yeah, all for that. But I feel sometimes we might be just kind of meeting so far in the middle that it's pleasing no one, you know?
Yes.
And so I kind of I'm trying to enact a kind of thing of like, look, just pick a day and we'll watch whatever you want to watch. And then we will also watch. He doesn't want to watch any Tom Cruise movies. I'm on a real Tom Cruise buzz privately. Yeah, privately.
Okay. Well, not privately anymore.
Well, I mean, in my own head, we're like, if I was having my say, I'd just be wanting to rewatch loads of Tom Cruise movies. I'm just so fascinated with him as just a Hollywood actor and the choices that he's made, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm not really getting to do that.
Cool.
So we're kind of meeting somewhere in the middle, you know, and not being totally. So I'm kind of like, hey, Terry, can you just pick a few days where you will watch whatever you want to watch, you know, and then maybe the few days that I watch.
Is Terry your wife's name?
Yeah.
Is that a full name?
Yeah, she's born Teresa.
Oh, Teresa.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm always curious. I know another Terry, and I didn't know her name, and I was like, oh, I was wondering what it was.
We all have names that aren't our names. The whole family. You know, I'm Tony, but it's actually Anthony.
Oh yeah.
She's Terry. It's actually Teresa. My son's Sonny, but is actually Harrison.
Oh, your brother Andy.
Yeah.
How do you feel now that he's making content? Are you threatened?
No.
Well, do you love it?
I love it. Yeah, I'm so proud of him, and he's better at it. Like he's more consistent. Like he's now put out more videos than I've ever made. You know.
But he has a format. Like you didn't have a format. Like you're more sketch and you've more variety. He's kind of just doing. Well, he's not actually. He's doing more.
No, he's branching out now.
Yeah.
And he's very good at it. Like I mean, he's funnier than me. But I was so like when he started doing the commentary videos, I was just like. That, like, you know, you just see something and it's original and really well done.
Yeah.
And you're like, this has legs. This is just, you can just keep going with this, you know?
Yeah.
And I hope he does, as well as kind of branching out. And I think that he's gotten a very effective kind of model where, you know, he's kind of, it's not even one for them, one for him, you know? You know, that's the George Clooney model. Like he'll make, he'll make a blockbuster and then he'll do like more independent movie that he'll direct or whatever, one for them, one for him.
The Descendants.
Yeah, something like that. But Andy he loves doing the commentary videos, and and the quality of them are looking even better and better and better. You know, so I'm delighted for him.
Yeah,
you know, he's so sweet though. Like he's like, you know, he got booked this voiceover, and he's all like, "Look, don't want to be stepping on your toes." And I'm like, "Fucking do it, like, you know, do it, and don't ever ask me for permission for anything, you know, ever again."
It's so surreal because you sound exactly the same.
Yeah, yeah.
And you look very similar as well.
We are. Yeah, we're very similar. Yeah.
Do you have any other siblings?
Yeah, I got a little brother, little sister as well.
Are they
Ben
little creatives?
They're very funny, but I don't think they would like. They're very funny, but they're kind of like, you know, get in, get out with the jokes. They wouldn't probably want to hold that much attention for that long. Andy probably wouldn't either, to be fair. Although he does have a podcast, he just hasn't really kind of gone into the live thing. They're very funny, and they are very creative in their own ways, but they wouldn't really be doing the kind of content, you know, kind of stuff. They're just like really just sound smart, normal people.
Were you folks into the creative entertainment industry or anything like that?
They're very funny, but no, not really. You know what they did do for me and Andy. You know, well, my mum and dad are, as me and Andy have my mum and dad, and then my brother and sister, they've got a different mum, my stepmom. But with my mum and my dad, like they would have left us alone. This is what I think. I think where my creativity comes from my parents is the fact that they're very funny. They always told me that they loved me, so I never had to worry about that. They always told me they were proud of me even when I did fuck all, right? So I always had that going. I always carry myself.
So affirmed.
Yeah, so affirmed. Yeah, exactly. I was walking around so affirmed. But they also just like left me alone to just fuck around with shit all the time, you know? Because when I got divorced, it was kind of like, I don't want to be, you know, smothering them with a load of shit, give them a bit of space here. I don't want to go overboard with this whole kind of. So with that, it was kind of like just left to my own devices to do whatever, you know, allowed to be bored and fuck around with a camera, fuck around with, you know, different things, you know. So to be walking around proud of everything that I make, you know, and loved, and then also have the freedom just to fuck around with shit, I think that's where it comes from me and him, you know.
I had the opposite.
Yeah.
Anytime I made a video of me, I'd be like, "Oh, well done, Spielberg," and all that. Like, if you're taking the piss.
Yeah.
Like, but there was something about that kind of wanted me to prove myself a little bit more. Like, I'll show you one of these days.
You've delivered that in spades now, haven't you?
I know.
No.
Dead.
Oh. Sorry, Joe.
Now you put your foot in it. Now we're even.
Okay,
now
sorry.
We're even.
Sorry.
No, it's even with me brothers and stuff like that. It was always kind of a weird thing that I was just doing videos, and artsy fartsy videos as well, like, you know what I mean. I always try to make stuff look artsy.
Well, just good.
Yeah, I think so.
It's your aesthetic, you know.
I think so, because when I started making videos, it was before people held the camera sideways.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it was like, it's weird. It's kind of reverting backwards, isn't it? That it's kind of going into square again. Actually, we had square TVs, then it went into widescreen.
Yeah.
And then it went vertical, and now it's kind of going back to square for fucking Instagram and Twitter and stuff. It's all 4:3 now, and even when brands come to you and they're looking for videos, they don't even know what shape they want.
I know, thing. Sometimes they come back. I'm wrecking Jer's head at the moment, reshaping things for a now video. The sponsor of this week's podcast. Why do you think they were kind of like, you know, Spielberg or artsy fartsy or whatever like that?
Because you don't step outside your box, man. I hate fucking saying where do I come from? Well, because it's the inner city.
Here you fucking get to, like, I don't. You get to.
Yeah, like it's just a weird thing, like, to do anything creative that's not just the norm. Get a job and be happy. Like, keep your head down and plow ahead. So to do something creative is kind of weird. Yeah, that's why, like, there was a youth club around where I grew up. Swan. Do you know Swan? Like, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Marino.
Okay. Did you go to a youth club or anything around there? You probably went to the Boy Scouts, did you?
I did, yeah.
There's a Boy Scouts around there.
Yeah, there is, yeah. First Fairview.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a youth club around there, and they had a camera and stuff. So they let me use their equipment, and then they sent me on an editing course and film base. So they were very supportive of all of that stuff.
That's great.
But then, like, anything that I do, it just kind of be laughed at. Like, yeah, all right, go on, next up, Hollywood. And I'm like, listen, it doesn't have to be Hollywood or nothing. Like,
I know,
there's an in-between.
So, exactly. That was always thinking, what, you expect to be fucking Tom Cruise? I remember someone saying that to me because they didn't want to be an actor. It's like, what are you going to be, Tom Cruise? And I'm like, is me not being Tom Cruise mean I failed? You know?
I know.
Don't know why I keep bringing up Tom Cruise. But I think it also comes from, like, how deep is the reference pool for them to pull from? I mean, I think Barry Keoghan's probably made a huge difference in terms of what people, you know, who you think you are, Barry Keoghan, you know?
But, like, Jim Sheridan, Jim Sheridan came from Sheriff Street. Like there's a lot of Lark Kinlan. Having said that, I used to take the piss out of Lark Kinlan. Like, do you know what I mean? Like I used to always go up to, can I have an autograph, Lar, and stuff like. He used to fuck off you, will you? And there is actors from around the area. It's steeped in art and poetry, and there's poets from around the area. Lou Kelly, there's singers. Everyone's a fucking singer. Like there's so much talent, but it's kind of trying to make a career out of that talent that it's kind of come on, get over yourself.
But I think once like if you had a few people to name drop for your family, they probably would have been like, oh, I kind of get that, you know. And I'm sure there probably will be some kid to be like, wouldn't mind being a bit like Joe, you know, wouldn't be like Darren and Joe, doing that kind of thing, you know. And they maybe don't have the full vocabulary to know that they want to be maybe a filmmaker, or they might not have, or to be like that, they know they want to go into like broadcasting or podcasting or something like that. But they might just be like, I want to kind of do creative stuff like Joe McGucken. Like, I mean, there's definitely a kid who will say that, you know.
I hope so, because I went back to Swan recently to do like they were doing a documentary internally for the Real Youth Film Festival, which was a kids film festival years ago that I took part in with Barry Keoghan. We were in the same film club, and I said, hey, look, I'd love to give back if you need a hand or anything, like a facilitator on filmmaking or writing or even podcasting, anything, like let me know, and if the kids are interested, I'll come in and I'll help them. Then a couple of months later, I got a text from one of the youth leaders, says, hey, there's a girl here, she'd really love a hand with making a podcast, starting a podcast. And I was like, oh well, look, send them my number, get her to give me a call. And then a couple of days later, I get a call off this number, and oh no, I got a heads up. All right, I got a heads up saying, this girl's going to call you now. And I was like, okay, great. Like this little 13-year-old's going to call me now. I'm going to be like, yeah, here we go. Here's how to make a podcast. But I answered the phone. She's like, all right, what's the story? And I'm like, hey, are you looking to I heard that you're starting a podcast. And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, how old are you? And she's like, I'm 35. Do you not remember me in school? And I was like, oh. Now I do, yeah. Like I thought it was going to be helping some kid, and it turned out to be this like old woman.
2 years older than
you. I know. But even still, I'm like, oh, I feel so underqualified. I was like hoping to help out like some up and coming kids. I'd love to do that though. I'd love to, because I would have loved that. Yeah. As a kid, I would have loved to be in the youth club, and the Real Youth Film Festival. We made a shitty little film, and we played it in the IFI, and one of the judges or people that were there was Mark O'Halloran. Oh yeah. And I was in awe of him because of the stuff that Adam and Paul, I suppose. And I was like, fucking Mark O'Halloran. And then he came up and he talked to you afterwards, and I was I was so flattered. Yeah. And I was like, that was so impactful. Like you can make such an impact on a young person.
You're not one and done after that. You're like, all right, what's next after meeting someone like that? You know?
Yeah.
But I think that'll happen though. You're a young man, you know. I think you've. I'm not closing. It sounds like I'm closing up the podcast.
Yeah, it does. Oh, we're still going.
Yeah. Fuck. No, you're a young man. I think that's definitely going to happen. But like, do you give yourself a bit of credit for like kind of having to push past all that? You know, like push past a bit of that kind of resistance.
No.
I
mean, yes.
Because even the fact that you're like, I'm so, and I don't mean this in any kind of fucking condescending way, but as a fellow kind of like maker of things, I'm so proud of the fact of what you and Darren and Jer have done, where to get onto RTE, you're like, we're already fucking making it. Like, this is what we've made. Yeah. Do you want it? You know? Like, there was no specific handout for anyone. It was just like, you know, obviously they're looking for comedy, and, you know, you're scratching each other's back when it comes to that. But, like, everything that you've done has been purely out of the fact that you've been like, I'm going to make it, and then you can tell me later if you want it.
Yeah, but I don't know. That sounds very definitive. Like it was just cold and then hot all of a sudden. Like we were sniffing around. I done like 2 seasons of the Darren project, dressing up as a fucking dolphin and doing stupid things. Yeah. And Darren was doing stuff for Love Hate. Like we were always kind of, not always, but we were like around the periphery. And then it was just kind of, I don't know. Like it was definitely a slow burn. It wasn't as sudden. I mean, when it happened, it was quick. It happened fast. Yeah. And it still is happening, and it's like, ooh, I feel like it's all gonna, the arse is gonna fall out at some point of everything.
No,
not just not for Gaff, like, but of everything. I feel like it'll all just kind of.
Well, it's good to have that. personified, this wolf at the door kind of, chasing you constantly. It's what's going to keep you going. But like your path to get on there, and it's certainly not over, and I know you want to make more movies and stuff like that, and you're a fantastic actor. But like if someone were, like if I were to try and if I didn't know anything about how to get on RTE, the advice I would probably give some kid would probably be like, go to college and do film, or go to, if you didn't know, you would probably set someone off on a completely different path than the path that you actually did to get onto RTE and to be a regular contributor and to be self-employed as a content creator. You know what I mean? Like, it's a new kind of industry, but it's kind of unheard of. And I'm just trying to say, I think you should kind of you didn't go the route that probably would be expected of, do well in school, get the good grades, go to college to do
you saying I didn't do well?
I don't fucking know. I'm going to assume you didn't get good grades.
You can assume correctly, but how dare you assume?
No, I just think that's you deserve a bit of credit for that.
Oh, thanks. That's a nice thing for you to say.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
And can I have a kiss? Killian was saying something about you. He didn't want to go to work or something like that, and you were like, "You just quit, get a new job." And he was like inspired by that. Or you're like, or you were saying you didn't want to go into work, and you were like, "I'll just fucking quit and get a different job."
Yeah.
And he was just like, "Oh yeah, you can just do that." He was just quite inspired by the fact that you're like, I'm not so fucking beholden. This job isn't everything that defines me. You were just like, let's get another one. Just get another job.
Yeah.
And I think of that a lot when I think of people who really hate their job. I'm like, just get another job.
Just quit.
Because because your job was not the thing that was ultimately defining you. Your passion for making things was the thing that was defining you. You know. And I think there's a lot of people that will walk around and think, oh, if I get a job and it's not a cool job, everyone will think that's the thing that kind of defines me.
But I mean, if you look around you now, like, last year, the hot thing was to be in a tech job.
Yeah.
Now they're being sacked left, right, and centre, and they all thought that they were hot shit working in the tech jobs, like getting paid a lot of money, living city centre in lovely apartment blocks, playing table tennis at our desk, like, you know. And now they're being sacked, and it just goes to show, like, you're not valued. Like, you're a cog in the wheel in them big environments and them big jobs. Like, I was only talking to somebody who was sacked. I'm just realising there's a big fucking rip. Oh, that must be from cycling.
Can't see it.
I was only talking to someone recently about he was, him and his mate, the person that got sacked from the tech job was actually in the higher position, and the fella who was just kind of a button pusher is still employed because he's more necessary than the person, than the kind of whatever, the CFO or the CCO or whatever the fuck you want. But the CFO is very important, but like a little bit further down, middle management. Yeah, you realise that middle management is not important, and they don't need to fucking take their jobs seriously. I used to work with somebody, and we were working together for 4 years, same job, and there was an opportunity that opened up, and we both applied for it, and he got it. And so then he was slightly above me as shift leader. But it went to his head, man. Yeah. It's like a pure dictatorship. Like, he just thought that then, like, he ran the show. And I'm like, man, you're a buffer. That makes it, you're a filter, you're a funnel for him to, for the manager to relay his messages down to the 12 people here through you. That's all you are. Like, you're not more important. Yeah. You're a tool. You're his tool. And you're the tool. But yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it?
But I just thought, like I would have loved to fucking work at McDonald's. Like, I actually deep down would have loved to work at McDonald's growing up. Like, I think I would have really enjoyed that. And looking back, I was like, that would have been really a good job. It would have been like, you know, there's billions of dollars of infrastructure in there to make sure that you're actually having an okay time at work, because you can't, because there's so many people, they have to have some sort of structure. But I would have been like, no man, like, I want to work in like HMV, because I want people to think when they see me that I'm really into the things. And I always felt like your job was something that you had to kind of like wear, you know. And as I get older, I realize, like, it's not, like, it's, you know, there really is no fucking difference. You know, people have their hobbies outside of work, and then people have, like, the work to pay the bills. And it's great, of course, if you can find the passion and you can become self-employed or something like that and doing something that you do. But I don't really know my point on that. I just kind of, just you saying, here, fuck it, just get a new job, I think is an attitude people should adopt a bit more.
I know what you're talking about. So Killian was probably saying, I said to him, like, I should just leave your job, or I said that, or I'll just get a new job. I quit my job because I was working with a betting company, and there was opportunities coming up, and they even gave me the opportunity to go part-time and stuff, so fair play to them and everything, but I took the leap of faith and says I just need to throw myself 100% into this, because I went through depression and I was going to kill myself, and I was like, I'm not looking for sympathy when I say that, but I'm just like, these jobs don't matter. Like you're gonna die one day. Like, you know what I mean? These jobs don't matter. This is your life. You only get one spin. You only get one shot. Like, you know what I mean? You one go on this little very short trip. Very, very short trip.
Was there any point after that where you were like, I know, here, fuck this, I need to do something about this? Or was that a gradual thing after that? After the depression, after the suicidal thoughts?
It was pretty instantaneous, and it came from like, that took a toll on my relationship with Moira. So then it even made her realise she left her job and she's kind of pursuing her own thing now as well. Like, so she just kind of said, the fuck are we doing? Like, what are we doing? Because it's part of it's a contributor to why I was in such a bad headspace.
Yeah.
Hey. But it was a contributor to why I was in such a bad headspace, and not committing myself to what I was actually passionate about, which is making shit.
Did you feel before like you went full time doing what you do, did you feel like you were shit at jobs? Or did you always just...
I never had any. I could never get a job.
No?
Or I could never hold down a job. I'm terrible with authority. I just hate someone being in charge of me.
Yeah.
Really have an issue with authority. So I always struggled. So before the betting company job, I was working in a TV station, and I just got away with murder in there. But that was the longest job I had. I had that for like 5 years. And then before that, there was just bits and pieces, like in a pub here, in a restaurant there, and I worked with a bar agency that would send you to venues to work as bar staff. And I went to City West one time, and the darts was on. The Grand Prix of darts was on.
Yeah, I went out there.
Phil Taylor was on a 9-darter. I don't know if you were there that time.
No, it wasn't that time.
Phil Taylor was on a 9-darter. I'm behind the bar. Everyone's like, legging it to the auditorium to watch it. And I says, well, I'm not going to miss fucking Phil Taylor getting a 9-darter. Like, I love darts myself. So I went out to look at it. And then the manager came up beside me after he got it. I was like, fucking deadly. And he goes, did you see it? And I was like, yeah, I've seen it. And he goes, did you enjoy it? And I was like, yeah, it was amazing. And he goes, well, you can enjoy yourself there the rest of the night. You don't need to go behind the bar. I was like, what? He's like, you're grand here now for the night. And then that was it, me done with the agency.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I could just never hold down a job or take menial jobs seriously.
Did you feel though that you were bad at jobs? Did you feel like, because in other, maybe I'm trying to project onto you, but I definitely felt when in all the jobs that I was in, I'm like, I'm actually shit and I'm actually quite dumb. Like, that's what I felt. Like, I'm lazy. All the things that the jobs were making me feel, I felt were like part of my personality, and I kind of carried myself like that, being like, I'm actually just pretty shit at this. Maybe I'm a bit stupid. Maybe that's why I can't get it. And then when I got out of them, I was realized, I mean, you've been on film sets, and you realize sometimes you have to be there 4 o'clock in the fucking morning, and then you might not finish. You might be doing a double shift or whatever like that. You did 2 or 3 weeks for the first season, Darren and Joe, without any break whatsoever.
Straight through, like 20 something days, yeah.
And like I would have that in me, but I wouldn't have that in me for any other job.
Yeah.
And it's what made me realize that, oh no, I'm just completely I've been picking the wrong job every single time. Did you find that like that, or did you just not give a fuck?
I think I was in my head. I thought I was maybe too good for the job, or maybe too smart, or not too smart, but maybe I just wanted more responsibility. There was a time when I was a lounge boy, and I'm like, I can pull points. Like, you just have me going around like wiping tables that are already clean. Like, I can pull points, or I can, like, give me a task and I'll do it. But I hate standing around looking busy.
Yeah,
that's what I hate. Were the jobs that you had hard?
No, but like the basic requirements, which I suppose are just simple motivating things, like just arriving on time. Could never do that because I couldn't be arsed going in.
Yeah.
And I never realised it was because I couldn't be arsed going in. I thought, like, and I'd have people who I didn't respect telling me that I was, that, Like, and I would drag everything out. Like, I would basically test the patience of everything. You know, it would be like final warning, written warning. You know, like verbal warning, written warning, final verbal warning. I would go through every step, and I wouldn't ever quit. I would just get sacked, eventually. And then, I did actually find a job in sales. Then I got some good feedback from a good manager.
What did you sell?
I sold kind of software, kind of health. There were perks. There were perks for, like, credit card companies have it in the States where, like, you get a lot of perks. You might get percentage off, free cinema tickets. You probably have it with like 3 or whatever your phone provider is. I would sell that to businesses so that with their employees. So say if it was, like say, I don't know, Costa or whatever. I think we got Costa at one point. So Costa then introduced all these perks to their staff, and we would like source all those perks. But then we would do it for like a small business as well. So like Costa employees would log on with their account number and then be able to access all these perks for being. So I would sell this kind of website to each one, and we'd customize it and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And then eventually I started. It was a bit of a boom, and then all of a sudden within like a few months I was managing a team. And I was personable, so I was good at doing that. I knew what I didn't like as a manager, so I avoided all that. I made everyone feel real special, I was probably a bit too overly friendly with them all, kind of a bit of a David Brent situation. But so that worked well, But it was the first job I ever felt that I was kind of good at, and it was just because it wasn't just the menial task of, I don't know, like stocking a shelf and being bored. There was enough in it to not be bored. But I'm kind of at war with this thought that people are lazy. I'm kind of at war at the moment with this idea that people think that they procrastinate, because I don't think they do. I think there's just a lot of very unmotivated people doing shit that they probably shouldn't be doing, and hopefully the AI will sort all that out for us, do all those things that we don't need to do.
Like, money should be the motivator.
Should be, yeah.
But it's interesting that it's not a lot of the time.
I think for me it was just like, well, what will people? I never really looked out from my eyes for a long time. I always looked at like what people would look at, how they would look at me, and how they would, what would they see? Would they see some work in a HMV? They might be confused and think that I'm maybe a creative, or confused and think that I am someone who I actually want to be. You know what I mean?
You look exactly like the type of person that would work in HMV.
I know, they didn't fucking take me though.
The bastards. You just went in with a HMV shirt on, stood around, helping people.
Around, yeah. But yeah, so it's.
I used to work as a makeup salesperson.
Avon boy.
Not Avon, but it was the same setup. I imagine. I think it was basically a pyramid scheme, sales setup. But yeah, Victoria Jackson is what it was.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
Does it?
Yeah. My nana might have had some of that.
Maybe I probably sold it to her.
Yeah.
But I only done that for a week, and I was going around door to door selling this shitty makeup. Like I just hated it.
Did you sell in Coolock? She lives right beside the St. Luke.
Sold
Church.
Everywhere, yeah. I had like one person that was above me and teaching me the ropes.
Yeah.
And he wasn't great actually. I was better myself at selling stuff, and there was every day we'd go somewhere. I
tried the door-to-door sales one time. I did one day of it, and I was trying to sell, I don't even remember what it was, like fucking bottle tops or something like that to like keep wine fizzy or something like that. And we went out to Crumlin, and I got shot in the dick with a BB gun. And then I was all like, and it was actually a day I really didn't want the job. I wanted to get my dad off my back about getting a job. So I just signed up for this job, and I was like, it'll be something different. It's not a shop. It's not, service. It's not retail. And so I had to buy a suit, which cost me like fucking like 60 quid. And then I remember it was in the middle of the summer. It was one of the hottest days of the summer, and I was lugging around this fucking carry case of all these bottle tops on my way to Crumlin, and my mates drove by in a car on the way to the beach. And they were like and I wanted to cry. I wanted to fucking cry. But I always had those weird things. I always felt like work had to be hard. I never thought that work was allowed to be easy. And that's why I was always just like averse to it. I always just thought it was like, I don't know, if it's work, then you have to kind of suffer. That's what work is, Willy
Loman-esque. Like it's kind of just make people like it and you'll get by. And just shut up and do the job that you don't like.
But we're doing great now.
You're doing very well for yourself, Tony. I love the podcast. I tried to do a podcast by myself before doing the style of podcast, and I couldn't do it. I don't know how you can sit in a room and talk by yourself.
You need to do the Brezzy thing of personifying the voice in your head that's telling you to shut up.
Yeah.
And once you do that, you just realize it's like having a co-host that you just don't listen to, you know, because you say something like, that's fucking stupid. And once you actually don't say that out loud, you just keep it in your head, then it gets quieter and quieter and quieter.
So is that an actual technique you use?
Yeah, well, he does a thing. I call mine Gary. He calls his Jeffrey.
Yeah, yeah.
So, like, that's what, once I realize that's Gary, I'm like, leave it, Gary.
Did he have to be ridiculous names?
No, Jeffrey and Gary, they're ridiculous.
They're pretty ridiculous. I feel like if they were people, they'd be two weirdos.
Yeah, but you can call yours Hans or whatever you want, something a bit more normal. Yeah, but you definitely have it in you, you know. And I would love to see, I'd love to see you be doing your stand-up. I think you'd be very good.
I do want to go back to it.
Mm.
I do want to go back to it. To going to prove it to myself that I can do it or something like.
Yeah. Just don't drink a rake of pints and try and do an Andy Kaufman bit at 11 o'clock to a bunch of Brazilians.
Don't tell me what to do. Don't tell me what to do.
Joe McGucken, is there anything you'd like to plug at this point?
The stall. I have my own podcast with Darren and Joe.
Very good.
Thank you.
Yeah, and very popular.
So, yeah, it is popular. It has a big audience, but we want to grow. So I suppose plug that. And me social media. Follow me on Instagram, Joseph McGucken. Other than that, I don't really have anything else to plug at this point in time.
At this point in time. Well, Joe, thanks very much, and thanks for having me on your podcast there that time.
Oh no,
I felt bad. I felt like it was like your 5th podcast of the day because you were backlogged and you were doing your best, but I felt that you were very tired.
Oh really? I can't even remember. Maybe that's how tired I was.
Well, thanks for coming on.
Thanks, man.
I love you.